everyone, and welcome to the MIFA podcast. My name is Jonathan Hughes, and I'm the host of the MIFA podcast. And this is not the typical episode of the show, and that's fitting because it's about people who haven't done the typical thing in terms of college. I like to think of this as the road less traveled episode of the MIFA podcast. And if you talk to as many students and as many parents as I have, you realize that everyone's situation is a bit different. Now, I'm not saying that everyone can or should do what my guests today have done, but I bring you these stories to show you that at the end of the day, the path that you take to your career or your degree is your own, and that there is room for some creativity. So first up, let's hear my talk with Ellen Ullman, a Massachusetts mom whose daughter is just starting college this year at Michigan State.
She wanted a large school. She wanted a school that had a huge, a lot of sports, and she wanted sororities and fraternities. She just, she'd gone to a lot of very small schools. We've lived in 3 states, and she went to really tiny schools. So I think she wanted something different from what she had had. She also knew that she wanted to probably be a speech pathologist. So she started searching for large schools with good speech path programs, and Michigan State kept coming up.
Can we talk really briefly about how you and I first connected?
Yes, absolutely. I had known about MIFA, my daughter's high school in Burlington, Massachusetts. One of I think our guidance counselors had a subscription and would send all sorts of resources. And I attended a MIFA webinar to learn about filling out FAFSA and all sorts of other financial aid information.
And so you and I had a conversation, I guess, that must have started about loans. Is that correct?
I believe it did. Yes.
And during the course of the conversation, you said something that interested me, and it was to do with the cost of college and how you decided to handle that.
Yes, when we went to Michigan State, they had an accepted student stay. And so we flew from Massachusetts to Detroit and drove up to East Lansing, and we're sitting in different sessions, and they posted in-state tuition and out-of-state tuition, on the screen in the front of the room. And in-state tuition was $25,000 and out-of-state was $50,000. And my husband turned and looked at me and said, "We're moving to Michigan."
Yep, you understood that right. Ellen and her husband and her dog decided that they would pick up and move halfway across the country to Michigan.
So yeah, we had always planned on moving after she started school. We didn't know where we were going to go or when, but that pretty much started that. And it turns out you can get in-state residency in 1 year. So we thought, you know what? We both work remotely. Let's give it a go.
And how did your daughter feel about that?
Honestly, I thought she might be a little horrified, but she was thrilled. And
oh, good.
Yeah, and I was telling you before this podcast, she actually came down with mono just last week about her 3rd week at school, and it wasn't that hard for us to drive the hour and 15 minutes, hour and a half to go and get her. And she was home for a few days just resting and trying to, get everything back together. And had we been in Massachusetts, I'm not sure what we would have done.
How do you like Michigan?
We love it. Love it. The people are super friendly. We're living in a great little city, and we're downtown, so we can walk everywhere. And it's been a really wonderful move.
Had you ever been to Michigan before?
No, just for that accepted students day. That was all of our first times.
I mean, not knowing the area, how did you make that move?
Great question. Excuse me. We connected with a realtor. My husband had some contacts through his job, and we found a realtor, and we asked that realtor to give us a list of towns and cities that had really vibrant downtowns with affordable housing. And we got a short list and ran it by some friends of ours who lived in Chicago who knew this area, and they kind of pointed us to where we are and said, "We think you'd really like that city." So yeah, it was kind of word of mouth, and of course I'm a researcher, so I did a ton of research online, and you never know, but this time it worked out.
Was it important to be just far enough away?
100%. Yeah, I mean, we're actually a little too close. I think an hour and 15 minutes. I would have preferred 2 hours, but like I said, she doesn't want to come home. So that's the good news. She wants to stay there and she absolutely loves it. So,
Unless she has mono.
right, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think probably most people are going to move out of state to get in-state tuition. What was it about your circumstances that sort of resulted in you doing that, do you think?
I think probably the main reason was that we only have the one child.
Mhm.
So we didn't disrupt anybody else's life. And both my husband and I work remotely. I actually have my own small business, and he just needed to be near an airport. So I think having all of that, and we've also, like I said, we've lived in a few different states. We've moved a few times. So it wasn't as daunting as it might be to other people who've maybe been in the same place for 30 years or so.
So you're paying out-of-state tuition this year, but
Correct.
next year you'll
Next,
qualify for in-state tuition.
hopefully so. I mean, we're doing all the things it says on the website, getting Michigan licenses, getting the car registered, paying taxes to Michigan, pretty much building our lives here.
Is your daughter considering going to graduate school at all?
She is, and we've lovingly told her that's on her. Yeah, we.
No future moves.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you, Ellen, and good luck to all of you in the winter. Now, the main segment of the show has its origins in a previous show that I did that I spoke to 4 high school students about their college admissions processes and how they made their college decisions. It was supposed to be a review of how the average student goes through this process and makes this decision. And it was great, and you should go back and listen to it. And I love the show, and I'm very proud of it. But I have to say that these were not the average students. They were all very driven, very impressive, and just creative and brilliant. But there was one student who, even among these students, had a unique path. I thought she deserved her own focus, and she was so gracious that even after the interview that we did initially, she offered to do a follow-up with us. So the first thing you're going to hear is my first interview with her when she was a high school student, and then I'll come back and introduce the follow-up. So here's Gracie.
Okay, hi. I'm Gracie Rosenberg. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a senior at the Franklin County Technical School, and I'm in my sophomore year dual enrolled at Greenfield Community College. So you can dual enroll when you're in high school, full-time or part-time, so you can take like any number of classes at a community college.
Yeah, that's right. Dual enrollment allows high school students to take college courses and get college credits. So how did it work for you?
In terms of GCC, they accept students at any age, any grade level. So I had to get approval from my high school before doing that, and I was able to do that.
And when did you start this?
When I was a junior, I started the second semester of my junior year, because that's when I heard about it. And I just went, oh, like, can I do that? And then how many classes can I take? And I believe I was the first junior at the Franklin County Tech School to do enroll like full time. So I kind of had to have a lot of talks with my guidance counselor of kind of like the logistics and how I would fulfill my shop requirements. And there's a lot of moving parts there. But thankfully, I was able to get it worked out.
And why did you want to do it?
Because I've always been someone who's like very academically oriented. I'm very like career driven. I really want to kind of go above and beyond with those things and kind of get the best like academic experience I can. Um, and so I think I sort of started figuring that out for myself, and the fact that I wanted to do those like advanced academics and kind of push myself as far as I could in terms of academics. When I was, a couple years into the tech school, because I go to a technical school, there's a shop requirement. So I have shop every other week, and so I can't stop doing that. So I do that every other week, in addition to taking, I've taken 3 or 4 classes per semester. And because of the fact that I have to go to shop every other week, I can't take classes in person. So I take them all online. which has worked well for me because it's given me a flexible schedule right now. So I'm, instead of going to my high school every other week for shop, what you're able to do, I think halfway through your junior year, is you're able to go out on co-op. So you're able to work a job in your field and earn money instead of going to school. So it is an awesome opportunity. And I've been doing that for the past few months. I got a job somewhere. It's basically just like any other job search. And you do that every other week instead of going to school. It's awesome.
So I understand that you were the first junior to dual enroll at this high school. That's pretty amazing.
Thank you. That's what I was told.
And on top of all this stuff too, I understand that you're applying for scholarships, right? For outside scholarships.
Being a high school student, who, I can't get financial aid yet from college. So I am still like paying in full for those classes. So yeah, it's definitely been necessary to do that searching for scholarships. I had that conversation with my guidance counselor, and she's definitely helped me kind of search for these different things, different scholarships I can utilize. She's helped me become kind of a expert like scholarship searcher, which is definitely necessary. And yeah, she's told me about different things that I can take advantage of, being a dual enrollment student, going to a community college, like using mass transfer.
Yeah, can you talk about mass transfer a little bit?
Mass transfer is, if you go to a 2-year community college and get an associate's degree, you can then transfer to a 4-year college, any college that's in that public, any state college or university.
And did that cost saving like advantage play a big role in your decision to do dual enrollment?
That kind of came secondary because I kind of wasn't thinking about that then. But it's sort of now been like a convenient realization of like, oh, this is really going to help me. And this is really a good decision to do like an associate's degree at a community college, save a lot of money. And then, I'll have to do 2 years to get a bachelor's degree. And then whatever goes on from there.
And so what do you ultimately want to do?
Yeah, in terms of a career path, I've kind of discovered that I am super into biology, and that's kind of definitely the career path I'm going to be following. Yeah, probably for rest of my life, who knows, but definitely for the foreseeable future. Um, I've gotten I'm kind of in the stage of like exploring different biology fields and like what am I most into. I was very set on marine biology for a long time. Still kind of am.
Well, thank you so much. Is there anything else you want to say before we go?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, like, thank you for having me on this because this is like a really cool little piece of sharing my experience and a little bit of like publicity. And I'm, yeah, definitely happy to be on here. And I would like be happy to do some sort of follow up podcast or something at some point. I'll keep you updated.
Well, true to her word, Gracie did follow up with us over the summer to tell us about what she's been doing. This is a conversation that we had in August of 2022, more about her college plans, her experiences, and counting fish.
I just got a little gig at the Turners Falls Fish Ladder. Yeah, so I was literally just counting fish all summer. Yeah, I just wrapped it up yesterday. And it was a from home thing. So I literally took a computer and watched video feed through a camera that's motion activated. So every time a camera that's just pointed at the window looking into the fish ladder. So every time a fish goes by, it activates and the feed is captured. And I literally have like a template of like 10 fish that I memorized and was like, oh, there's this and this and this. And
how many fish are we talking about?
Well, thousands.
So last time we talked, you were still in high school. Tell me where you are right now and what's ahead for you.
One more year, 2 more semesters at GCC to get my associates. And then what I'm hoping to do for the fall after that spring is to find, wait, is that what I'm doing? Hold on. Yeah, it's to no, for the spring I'm hoping to find some sort of that. So hoping to find some sort of internship that I can do. I would really love to get out and more into the field of biology with actual employment slash internship.
It was interesting to hear Gracie's reflections on her experience as a high school and college student. So, how many classes did you take initially?
I took 4, which was a lot.
That's a full-time course
Yeah.
load for a college student.
Yeah. And I honestly don't know how I did it, because every other week I was still attending the tech school to fulfill my shop requirements. So it wasn't like I had like all the free time to do my classes. So yeah, it was pretty rigorous, and I hadn't, been on the college scene before, so it was new to me, but I think that was when my motivation was very fresh then. And very like, I want to be doing this instead of what my alternative is. So I think that kind of got me through.
Did you enjoy it? You were looking for academic rigor, apparently you found it. Did you like that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's ups and downs to anything. It took up, because I was still, going to high school every other week, it took up most of my time. Which was, not preferable. I'd like to have a life doing other things as well. But I really enjoyed the stuff I was learning, I think was the major thing.
And is that something that you think, I mean, other students will do after you, or did you have any conversations with anybody, or did anybody say to you that did they think you were crazy for doing it, or did they want to do it themselves, or did they just know not to call you because you were busy?
Probably like a mix of all of those. I mean, I've never been that much of like a social butterfly. I don't have a very big social circle. So I had a few friends at tech, but the majority of my like friends were outside of outside of the tech school. But yeah, I had a couple close friends, and it's I think for them it was just kind of a thing that they, weren't interested in, which is fine. More on the track of, getting into their career out of high school. I definitely think now that I've done it, more juniors are going to do that. There's definitely people that, are in the tech school that want to go to college and want to get that jump start.
Did attending the college courses make you eager to go to college full time?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, it gave me a taste for it, and I enjoy having that, academic kind of rigor, because I know I'll be prepared for the rest of college. I plan to transfer to UMass Amherst after I um finish at GCC. So yeah, I think I mean, that first semester made me realize that, 4 courses with the other thing I was doing was too much. So now I since I graduated, I have a better balance. I'm going to be working part-time, and that's a bit less than what I was doing in school and taking 3 classes. So
The other thing I want to ask you about specifically is mass transfer, right?
yeah, that was all just happened to be told to me by my advisor when I was in high school. She gave me she's great. She gave me the whole rundown of like, this is, if you go to GCC and you're planning to transfer to 4-year college after, this is like, these are the things you should be prepared for, like resources you should go find, and what your future paths might look like. So yeah, so she told me about mass transfer and about the John and Abigail Adams Scholarship, which is something that you get if you get a high enough score on the MCAS exam when you're in high school.
Yeah, I remember the last time we spoke, you weren't sure if you were, going to continue on through the public route, or if you were looking at some private colleges too. Was sort of cost a factor in that decision?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I spent a lot of time thinking about it, and visiting a lot of schools, and I always kind of keeping my mind open to, I mean, if I found like a private school that I really liked and really wanted to go to, and I spent some time thinking about like realistically, like, might I be able to afford the private school, and it would only be 2 years for a bachelor degree, which would make it more affordable. ultimately I decided that I did like UMass Amherst. Something that is an advantage for it that I wouldn't have anywhere else is that I could live at home while going there. Um, and another cool bit is I get to get around the first year campus living requirement because I'm applying as a transfer, um, which is awesome. Yeah, so I can live from home and save a lot of money that way. And basically I can save like so almost all my money through my undergraduate in college, which is awesome.
I've taken a lot of calls from parents who want to know, like, well, how do people do this? How does everybody else do this? And you did something that people don't do, and it was a really cool thing and very sort of inspiring thing. When I told people about it, they were like, "Oh my God, I can't believe that! Well, she was the first person to do this, and she did all that stuff. That's a great story." And so, I guess, what would you tell other people? What would you make sure that other people knew who were, in high school or just trying to think about what they're going to do for college?
It's things you hear all the time. I think as a high school student is to like kind of start thinking about things early. Um, and you don't have to like figure out what your whole future is going to be, but it's definitely worth it to like start thinking about it because that's the first step, and it's better to start doing that sooner rather than later. And for me, um, I kind of found my like I wanted to do dual enrollment. That was like the big thing for me. You might kind of find that that's not for you, and you can have that conversation, talk to your guidance counselor a lot, and just think about early on what you might want to do in a career. I've always sort of like known like biology is probably going to be the thing for me, but I thought about other things. I talked to my advisor, and I took those like quizzes that are like, what is your interest and skills like align with. Um, from the process of going into dual enrollment, I mean, GCC is a really, I think, unique place and unique school. I found a really awesome social community there. It has a lot of campus jobs. The academics are rigorous. It's rated like one of the top community colleges in the country. Like genuinely, it's a great school. And so like if you're living near there, I would definitely recommend checking it out. And there's other community colleges around. I would find out if from your advisor if it's something you can do. And I think most high schools you can.
Oh, good luck. Thank you so much, Gracie.
Thank you very much. This is really nice.
All right, folks. So that about wraps it up for us today. I want to thank Ellen and Gracie for joining us on the program today. And folks, if you like the show and you want to hear more from MIFA on all topics related to planning, saving, and paying for college and career, and about reaching financial goals, please subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, wherever you get your shows from. And whether you're a new or regular listener, please remember to rate and review us so we can keep doing what we're doing and getting this show out to people like you. Thanks to our producer, Sean Connolly. Once again, my name is Jonathan Hughes, and this has been the MIFA Podcast.
MIFA has been a wonderful resource. I found all sorts of scholarships for my daughter to apply for. I didn't attend many webinars live, but I was able to go to the recorded versions, and it just gave me a ton of answers to questions I had in that whole applying and accepting. And I just want to say a little thanks to you guys for all the free resources that you offer parents, and I hope more people take advantage of them because it's a wonderful resource.